meeting for this evening. I appreciate y'all being here, and we will kick this thing off with a roll call from Jason, please.
Trustee Mahan,
He'll be here late.
Trustee Brown,
Excused.
Here.
Mayor Kreitz,
Excused.
Trustee Lamont,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem March,
Here.
Trustee Padilla.
Here.
Yep.
Good. All right. Can I get everyone to please stand, remove any hats if you have them, and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, thank you. All right, do we have any changes to the agenda?
Mayor Pro Tem, yes, we do. We need to move item B, the 2024 proposed budget. Should not be under consent, but it should be moved to public hearing. And items C and D should also be moved from consent to action agenda items.
Joke. Do we have any special presentations tonight? I don't believe we do. Okay. All right. Do we have any public comment? And according to the list here, we do not. I'll set it right there. All right, moving right along. We will move into our staff reports, and we only have one listed down here. Mr. Osler, you're up.
Yes, thank you, Mayor Pro Tem and members of the board. Just a couple of items I want to highlight out of the staff report, and a huge kudos just to the team in organizing this, as well as all of the departments that provide substance. We did change it just briefly and putting things all underneath the strategic initiative. But a couple of things that are important to note: our cameras at the skate park are really amazing. In there, it noted where we were able to catch a potential arson situation because of the cameras. That's a great investment that the town has made, and kudos to the team involved with parks and the PD in working through that. We were able to handle that. Another key initiative and item, and in regards to Jason and the finance team and the benefits advisory committee, we've been able to get our benefits down, a potential increase of 19% to 8%, while also maintaining a competitive benefit package from what we believe. And certainly there's changes, and changes are always difficult, but overall it's really helping us to continually on that pathway of being an employer of choice. So kudos to the team and being innovative and looking at that. In terms of just some scheduling items moving forward, we've got a couple of things coming up, and we're working on a calendar that we'll have to you in probably December for 6 months out. We do recommend on the 28th that we'll continue to have a meeting on that day. And then on the December 19th, we'll also look at potentially having a study session on that date to talk about some of the comp plan updates. And with that, if the board has any questions for me.
Not for me.
I have a comment. I had a number of questions that I needed about the budget that I needed to get answered, and your staff took care of me in just a couple of hours. So your staff once again came through on flying colors and very quickly, and I appreciate it. So thank you, Sarah. You over there, and Kevin, and Kent too. Kent's not here. I don't see anybody in Public Works here, so, and I don't think he's on. So okay, thank you very much. Okay, lost here. All right, we need to move on to the consent agenda. I need some action if there's nothing else to add.
I move to approve the consent agenda as is, with the discussed items moved.
Thank you.
Second.
Trustee Padilla,
Yes.
Trustee Lamont,
Yes.
Trustee DeValdi,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Arch.
Yes.
Motion passes 4-0.
All right. Welcome. All right, moving right along here. We are going to move to our action agenda. And should we cover these ones that we moved from the consent agenda first?
Yes, so we can start with items C and D. Reason why I looped them both together is the presentation we have from staff covers both topics, even though we will be presenting, the motions will need to be separate, but the presentation will include both.
Okay. All right. So we need to move in. Let's see. I need Chuck for C and D. Yes. Chuck?
Okay. So the green?
Yep.
Okay. Mayor Pro Tem, trustees, we've been in our current code cycle for about 2.5 years now. The 21 I codes have been out for about 2 years now. And that has given us an opportunity to review them and see if they're applicable to our town's needs. There are a lot of updates in all the codes themselves. Also, with the National Electric Code, we're going to go up to the 2023. The state's probably going to mandate that within a year anyway. But with that being said, well, it's not. Oh, there we go. Oh, sorry. Just got to be smarter than the clicker. What we're doing is in line with our strategic plan. It's effective and efficient and strategic government operations. It's an updated municipal code in connection with 2.5 below, and which goes into community and economic vitality. And we're going to continue to work on the updating the land use code in connection with 1.2 above. Also, some of the newer codes actually mandates safer and more stringent requirements, which fosters an improved relationship with the public, keeping them safer, and all our resources are feasible. Both the ICC and NEC revise their codes every 3 years. That's kind of a history of it. Like I said, we've been operating on the 2018 I codes and the 2020 NEC since June 30th of 21. We purchased the new code books in January of this year, and we started reviewing them and making whatever amendments or changes that we needed to do with the books themselves. Some of the significant changes, we're moving up into a higher wind speed, and that's actually going to be something that's pushed statewide anyway. It will affect roofing requirements, obviously, and we've certainly had enough of that lately. There's upgrades in deck requirements. The footing size for your decks are going to increase in size just for weight loads. They're actually going to have the snow load that we have is actually applicable with a deck now. It also eliminates the use of a commercial grade stove in a residential building. That's kind of been a recommended no, but now it's absolutely not. And it's probably a good thing anyway. It increases the number of outlets required in a house, and also the new homes are going to require dimmer switches on dens, bedrooms. It's not going to be applicable to kitchens and laundry rooms, things like that. And it's an energy savings thing. Also, we're making an amendment for detached structures. We're going to go from 200 square feet to 120 as the kick point for requiring a permit. We've been getting a lot of sheds that are in between 120 and 200. They're just throwing up and putting them on the property lines, and we don't need to do that anymore. It's a lot of times they're putting them on easements because they're not permitted. Nobody comes in and checks them, and a lot of times they're putting them too close to property lines anyway. They're flammable, and you're just not supposed to do that. The IBC changes. There's a lot of just structural things. Timber construction. You've got a revised snow map. There's other elements for anchorage on structurals. Just a lot of just upgrades, making your building stronger and better. NEC changes, which is a pretty significant one. They're requiring an emergency disconnect on the outside on an exterior panel now, and also with that they're requiring surge protectors, which I'm not really sure if a lightning strike would really help you that much on there, but something less than that would actually be beneficial. They're simplifying load calculations for houses now. A lot of homes have gone with LED lighting, which has a significant reduction in electrical usage. And the Article 310, which is essentially the wiring section, is simplified, where pretty much anybody can read it now. Energy changes. They have a more robust residential and commercial requirements. Right now, our attics require an R49. They're going to an R60. Oh. And there are other things that are requiring duct leakage testing now.
Wow.
And which is a good thing. That was a requirement down south probably 10 years ago. And you wouldn't believe how much energy's lost just in your attics and your crawl spaces. But they do what they call a duct blaster test on that. And they check the leakage in CFMs per hour. Like I said, dimmer switches are going to be a thing in homes. Increased water heater efficiency, increased HVAC efficiency. It's a pretty simple request. We've gone through the books, and we have ascertained that a lot of what they have come up with in the 21 codes and the 23 NEC is good for Frederick, and it keeps us in line with the other jurisdictions. Most of those guys are going to the 21 codes. If they haven't already, they're working on them as we speak. The 23s, I think Firestone already does the 23 NEC as currently. And okay. That's essentially that's it. It's pretty simple, but we do recommend that you guys approve it. And if not, we can stick with the code cycles that we have.
No, we need to keep ourselves up to date and in line with what the feds ask and expect. I know enough. I remember enough about codes that you need to meet or exceed their requirements when you do it. So I think that's great.
It is. The codes are actually a bare minimum requirement.
Oh yeah.
It's not when somebody brags on building the code, they're bragging on building to the bare minimum. They have to.
Yeah. They're not doing anything special. They're doing
not at all.
So yeah. Okay. Well, thank you, Chuck.
Thank you,
Chuck. I've got a quick question for you. There's a lot of talk about EVs and charging at home.
Mm-hmm.
Is that included in here? I didn't
Uh,
see any mention of.
The electric code does require to have a line run and capped off. It's generally a 50 amp circuit, and they're put in the garages. But most of them are not energized at that time. They're just used for future use.
Just there for future use.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
But it is going to be a requirement on the new builds now.
More than likely, yes. I mean, that is a requirement for a new build is to have that in place. There's also with the government not liking gas appliances anymore, they do require you to have something in there blanked out, just in case the regulation comes in. They could pull the gas stove out, you plug in an outlet, you're ready, and you're good to go.
Yes.
Hopefully that won't come to pass, but you can't ever tell. At least we'll be ready for it.
Yeah, there you go. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, Chuck.
Anything else?
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
Let's see, on ordinance 1391,
Do you
that's,
need a motion or?
yeah. Oh, yeah, we do. Yes, I'm sorry. We need some direction on ordinance 1390.
Yeah, Mayor Pro Tem, on that piece to include ordinance 1390 on the first reading and set a public hearing for December 12th, 2020.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. Yes. When will the public hearing be set, Ryan?
December 12th, 2023.
Okay.
1390 and 1391.
Yes.
We have to do them separate.
Separate.
Okay.
Yeah, so Mayor Pro Tem, a motion for the first one would be ordinance 1390 on first reading and set a public hearing for December 12th, 2023.
Okay. All right, so we need some direction on the first reading of 1390.
Mayor Pro Tem, I'd like to recommend that we adopt ordinance 1390 on the first reading and set a public meeting for December 12th of 2023. Is that right?
The public hearing.
Public hearing.
Second.
Trustee DeValdi,
Yes.
Trustee Padilla,
Yes.
Trustee Mahan,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem March,
Yes.
Trustee Lamont.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Same thing for 1391.
Correct.
Mayor Pro Tem, I'd like to recommend that we that we adopt ordinance number 1391 an ordinance amending Chapter 18, Article 3 of the Frederick Municipal Code regarding building regulations on the first reading, and then set a public hearing for December 12th, 2023.
18. 12. 12?
Yeah. Second.
Trustee DeValdi,
Yes.
Trustee Mahan,
Yes.
Trustee Lamont,
Yes.
Trustee Padilla,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem March.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Okay. All right. That covers the changes from the consent agenda, I believe.
One
Mayor
more
Pro
item,
Tem.
Mayor Pro Tem. We can do that at the end. It's the budget.
Yeah, with the public hearing, we can do the other action items first. On to item G.
Yeah, we need to move on to item G. That's what I thought. Okay.
And Jason Leslie's going to be presenting this one for Alan.
The Jason.
Yep. Good evening. I'm here to present the next item, which is a resolution to award a contract for the facilities master plan and authorizing the town manager to execute that contract. This aligns with our strategic plan, strategic reliability, and sustainable infrastructure. This request aligns with the item 4.1, complete work on a short-term and long-term facilities master plan. taking into account the growth need of the community. Proposals, formal RFP was opened for facility master plan. Proposals to complete that were opened on June 30th of 2023, and staff is providing recommendation for the award of this project to the most qualified consultant. Um, when we opened the solicitation for proposals on May 31st, 5 firms submitted proposals that were reviewed by a selection committee comprised of town staff. Our recommendation of this contract is to be awarded to the Farnsworth Group. Awarding this contract will obtain the necessary services to complete the items I identified in the 4.1 of the 2022-2023 strategic plan. They will include a needs assessment and data collection, analysis and planning, conceptual design and documentation, and a final documentation with deliverables of all town facilities. Our contract has been reviewed by the town attorney. The town has the option of awarding this contract for the work, to reject any and all negotiated scope and fee, or not proceed with the facility master plan, or rebid it with a different contract scope with budgeted funds. The budget has been identified to be used with capital facility dollars and will not exceed the amount listed on in the scope of 184,250,000. At this time, we do recommend awarding the contract and approving resolution 23R49. I'm here to answer any questions that you may have when reviewing the proposal and the contract that was attached in the board packet.
Anybody have any questions?
Questions?
Comments? Nothing?
None for me.
Okay, if not, we need some direction.
I move to approve resolution 23R49, resolution to award a contract for the facilities master plan and authorizing town manager to execute the contract.
Second.
Trustee Lamont,
Yes.
Trustee Padilla,
Yes.
Trustee Mahan,
Yes.
Trustee DeValdi,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem March.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
All right. Hold on. All right. We need to move to item H, consideration of Lot 1, Block 8, Frederick West Business Center, replat F, waiver request. Autumn?
Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem, trustees. I'm Autumn Gonzalez, senior planner at the town. I'm presenting on this request tonight, which is a waiver request to our land use code. GEP Investments Inc. is the applicant, and this slide I listed the specific code provision that they are requesting a waiver from. It is to a required RV storage use. The provision states the facility is at least 3 miles from an existing storage yard, salvage yard, RV storage, or self-storage facility within the town of Frederick or in another jurisdiction, measured from lot line to lot line. The applicant is proposing to establish a new RV storage use at 4160 Commerce Drive, which is within 3 miles of several existing facilities. This project area is located generally at the southeast corner of Commerce Drive and I-25 frontage road. This map shows 4160 Commerce Drive. It is currently vacant. The property is zoned industrial. Property to the north is also zoned industrial with PUD overlay, as is to the west and east. To the south, the property is zoned PUD with no base zone district. Properties to the north are developed with heavy industrial facilities. To the south, it's vacant. To the west, we have heavy vehicle sales or rental. That is the Trans West business. And to the east, the property is developed with a light industrial use. A little background information with this applicant and this project. They currently own and operate an RV storage use at 7265 Johnson Drive. Their letter of intent stated they wish to move that use from that location to the vacant property that I mentioned. They acquired this business and property earlier this year. It was called Frederick West RV Storage. And again, the subject property is vacant. This graphic shows in yellow the existing RV storage use that they acquired, and the red is the subject property where they want to locate that use. So our land use code has a lot of processes for this project to be able to relocate at that new site. The first hurdle is a use-specific standard, and that is that code provision I read off earlier, stating no facility shall be located within 3 miles of an existing facility. Our GIS team here with their town created this map showing 21 storage facilities within Frederick and also in neighboring jurisdictions. The subject property is shown in red, 4160 Commerce Drive. It's located within 3 miles of 19 of those 21 facilities. If the use-specific standard waiver is granted, the next step would be a conditional use permit and a site plan for the new development. Staff recommended the applicant go through the waiver process before they submit conditional use permits and site plans. That is a lot of money and engineering to do that stage of a project. So we wanted the waiver to go first to see whether or not they could proceed and build at this site. With every waiver request, we have a list of criteria. I did list these out in my staff report with staff responses. Staff believes that several of these listed criteria are not met with this application. The applicant held a neighborhood meeting on October 4th via Zoom. 2 attendees outside of the applicant's team and staff attended, and they had several questions and comments that were very site specific. They had comments on wetland areas and that vacant parcel. They had some comments and questions on visibility, sight lines, and undermining. I did try to wrangle in the conversation. The waiver request is not at that stage yet. This is just to determine if the use is permitted at this location. If it were to be approved, then comes the site plan work with wetlands and mine subsidence reports and all of that stuff that was brought up during that neighborhood meeting. At the time of creating this agenda item, staff received no public comment, but today I did receive an email, which I did distribute to you all. It should be on your desks in front of you.
Did the board, did you all get that email and read it? Okay, thank you.
Great. This slide shows some recommended motions: approval with conditions, and denial. I did notice that our agenda did not place a resolution number for this item. So when you do make a motion, you might have to wordsmith the sentence. There is no resolution number, so perhaps the associated resolution would be good wording to use. I don't know. Maybe the attorney can chime in there. I'm sorry?
23R50.
It would be 23R50 sequentially from the other resolution from this evening.
Oh, okay. You're right. So let's make a note of that too. It would be resolution 23R50. Thank you. With that, staff is recommending the Board of Trustees move to deny the requested waiver based off the criteria. Again, we don't believe several of those listed criteria are met with this proposal. With that, I will turn it over to the applicant to say a few words. me go back, left, right.
Hello, my name is Kyle Schmidt. I'm with GEP Investments and Transwest. Mayor Pro Tem, trustees, and staff, thank you very much for your time this evening. Autumn, thank you for putting together that presentation for us. To back up, I just want to give you guys a little overview of what we're trying to accomplish here. As you can see, we have the two businesses in the town of Frederick right now, the Transwest RV, which is the northern property, and then the Transwest Trucks, which is the southern property. Our property to the north is growing and expanding, which is why we purchased the Frederick West RV storage lot earlier this year. Our intention overall is to expand that current building to the east into that RV storage lot. I want to be extremely clear. The 4 acres that makes up the Frederick West RV storage lot and the 15 acres to the southeast, we are only wanting to move the 4 acres. We are not looking to put outdoor storage on the full 15 acres of vacant land. We simply just want to move this within the town. We're not looking to add a new storage facility. I know that this process is for a new facility, but we are absolutely willing to make this waiver approval contingent on us giving up our current storage use in exchange for moving it to the portion of the 15 acres to the southeast. Our business is growing. We also would like to take that remaining 15 acres to expand our southern operation. It's all just a bigger picture to continue our business here in the town of Frederick. Staff put together the packet with the criteria. I just want to spend a little time on some of those criteria, which you guys have in your packet, to kind of rebuttal some of those. The waiver, if granted, will not be detrimental to the public good. We do not believe this facility would be detrimental to the public good. This would be a new facility, a new development, I should say. We would be fully compliant with all drainage, fencing, lighting, landscaping, pavement, gutters, etc. The property where we're proposing to move this outdoor storage would be set back to the back of the property line off of Commerce Drive with a private access to not disrupt the neighbors. And then also, I'm not sure if you guys are aware of this property. It is currently plagued with underground coal mines, the 15 acres. In June 4th of 1998, Western Environment and Ecology put together a mine subsidence investigation report. We have been in contact with Greg Sherman, the president of Western Environment, and he has informed us that the only use for this 15 acres to development would be outdoor parking and storage. Because the coal mines underneath building is just too risky, putting any buildings on that piece of land. So we believe that being allowed to move our use to this southern property is the only beneficial use for that piece of land. Going to, does this present any unnecessary hardships? Again, just going back to the underground coal mines, we don't believe this creates any hardships. This would be a development of this 15 acres that's kind of been an ugly piece of land for a while in the town. And we are looking to dress it up and remain in full compliance with the town's design standards. Let's see here. We do comply with the comprehensive plan. We are zoned correctly for it. The city, the code limits RV locations, RV storage uses within the town. And again, I just want to reiterate, we are not looking to add a new location. We're simply wanting to take the 4 acres that's currently permitted use and relocate it to that southern piece of land. again, after speaking with Western Environment Ecology, they believe the only permitted, feasible use is outdoor parking and storage. We believe this would have a huge improvement to the town on what has previously been there for the past years. Um, it's we believe it's a major opportunity to improve the town, given what the piece of land is and what you can do on it. Um, we understand that RV storage use doesn't drive a lot of income for the town. However, being allowed to develop this site with our outdoor storage use would dramatically increase the property tax. Um, for the 15 acres at 4160 Commerce Drive alone, in 2022, the assessed value was $45,000. We paid $1,300 in property tax on that. I should say the previous owner. Because of our purchase price of this land, the newly assessed value brought that up to an assessed value of $500,000. That's a 970% increase of the property tax that the town has gone to the town because of the increased value. We're looking to increase that value on that piece of land even further, which would benefit the town. So, not to take up too much time, I appreciate your time here. Again, I just want to reiterate, we're not looking for a new use. We just want to relocate our current outdoor storage use to a piece of property that's compromised. We currently employ over 130 people in the town with an average salary of $92,000. That amount is projected to increase if we're allowed to move the use and then also expand our current businesses. Our property taxes in 2022, we paid just over $380,000 in property tax between our two existing businesses. In 2023, that's expected to increase $100,000 to $480,000. That would increase even more if we could develop this 15 acres of vacant land. We believe we're a good neighbor and a business for the town, and we want to be a good neighbor and business. And we hope that you guys agree and will approve this waiver. Thank you.
Kyle, thank you.
Questions? Sorry.
Does the board have any questions for Kyle? All right. Thank you, Kyle. Appreciate it.
A question. Oh,
No, please go ahead.
a question for Autumn or Allie. I don't know who.
Autumn or Allie? One of you?
And thank you to the applicant for coming tonight. Really appreciate it. I guess the question is, does the town staff have any way to know on or your thoughts on the assertion that the only use for this is outdoor parking or outdoor storage and that no buildings could go on this property?
That's a good question, Trustee Padilla. I think it's a complicated answer. You know, a lot of times these mine subsidence reports come back saying no buildings should be permitted, no roads, and then the applicants say, "Well, great, you can put storage out there," but that is driveways, that is a road, that is putting people in the same area where you don't want a building. So, I think the potential effect is still there if it's outdoor storage or if it's a building. We're putting people in that location. We do route those mine subsidence reports to CGS, Colorado Geological Survey, and they do recommend buffers. They recommend certain elements. I think this is a little premature to. I don't know if that. I mean, I haven't seen that report. I guess is what I'm trying to say. Based off my experience, a lot of times they don't say just storage is permitted. They say, yeah, you can have a buffer, maybe put storage here, maybe put it there. Is my experience with these reports.
Then my second question is on the staff comment on number 1. The waiver, if granted, will not be detrimental to the public good. You had quite a long staff comment, and in it you say several of these uses have come out of compliance in regards to screening, lighting, fencing materials. Can you go into more detail on that staff comment?
Sure. This site in yellow specifically is out of compliance with fencing. I will show you the photo. The main gate is not screened. That is a requirement of code. I don't know if this was approved this way or it came in later, but that is not compliant. Also, you can barely make it out, but there is barbed wire on top of this fence. That is not permitted per our code. A lot of these uses do put barbed wire as a security measure. That is not permitted, so it is out of compliance. I did mention lighting as well. Trans West to the west of the yellow box actually had a recent complaint from a resident that the lighting was shining in their bedroom window. I reached out to Kyle and asked him, to fix that, and he did. But Trans West itself was out of compliance with lighting. So these are common issues that we get with this type of use throughout Frederick. It's not unique to this site. Barbed wire is probably our biggest issue with this type of site. That's the first, I guess, topic of number one. The second topic was the economic impact. Sales, rental, storage, these are regional, I guess, businesses. They attract customers from the region. It's not Frederick specific. And also, renting out RV storage space doesn't generate a lot of money for us, and it's not even for a resident. So we don't see this as a huge economic driver for our community. Other uses can move into these sites that have, more of an economic impact. That's more favorable to the town. So that's why I specifically listed that element as well. We do have staff that can talk more in depth about that economic impact if you're curious. I hope that answers your question.
Autumn, Autumn, what could this site be used for? You're saying no buildings, no, because of coal mine. What do you see there? Because I see Transwest to the west. I see another building to the east of 4160 Commerce, and I'm going, what are we going to put in there, or what could go in there?
Great question. So I haven't seen the mine subsidence report. It could say you could have buildings, just limit them in size. It could say buildings could go in the northwest corner. I don't know. I haven't seen that report. Based off what I've seen here in Frederick, a lot of times a buffer is applied. You can put parking in the buffer, but you can't put a building. It's site specific. Again, I think this is a topic for the site plan or the conditional use permit. I don't know. I don't know what the report says. Use-wise, this zone district does permit several uses other than outdoor storage. You could have manufacturing, you could have office, you could have various other things. Again, those all have buildings, but I don't know what the mine subsidence report states.
Barbed wire is not is a concern of mine. I mean, I just don't agree with that kind of a situation. And I've lost my train of thought on the other one. I'm sorry.
You mind if I jump in while you recover your
Go ahead.
thoughts?
Go right ahead, Christy.
Just to make sure that I'm clear, all we are discussing for this is the waiver to our rule that says it can't be new within 3 miles of existing storage, whatever, right?
That is correct.
All of these other things that we're discussing would come into play if we approve this waiver, we can have much more in-depth and thorough evaluation of these things because it would still require a conditional approval. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. Just for where I sit on things, I mean, I'm sure that a lot of the issues that exist as far as the barbed wire and the gate, we're probably not put there by their current owners. They were probably existed before them. We're looking at, I don't know if our attorney could let me know, is it even possible to restrict if they're moving on to a larger lot, to restrict that to you can only use the same amount of space that you are vacating? Is that even an option?
The one of the criteria is this. One of the criterion for waivers is the minimum waiver that's necessary. And so in this case, a condition of approval could be put on to say that the footprint can't be larger than the existing footprint in order to make sure that that condition is met. That would be legally, I think, appropriate.
So that's an
You could
option.
do multiple ones.
Multiple, I'm sorry.
Conditions of approval.
Right.
Or,
Multiple conditions.
Certainly. I mean, if I may, Mayor Pro Tem, the discussion about the substance report, the substance report, as I understand it, is not of record. This board could certainly take the testimony, and if it finds the witness credible, it can approve anyway, or it can get that report if it wants to and review it. There's many different options from here in terms of the information the board requires to make a decision like this. And the ability to impose conditions is not restricted.
so
Yeah, I think you were touching on my comment. The other comment I forgot about was the number of existing lots in the area within 3 miles. What was that, Autumn?
Yeah.
19.
19, thank you.
well, we're not. It's. I'd also look at it as it's not adding an additional lot. Yes, it is a new one, but there's in the other one
Because we
that's
can
being vacated is not. And I think for our from my perspective, I'm looking at the bigger picture, and obviously there's no way to guarantee that Transwest actually expands and adds jobs in that by moving on to the lot that they're vacating. But that sure sounds a lot nicer than let's just leave it as a vacant lot because they own it, and if they can't do this, then so I think that there are enough checks and balances that will come in the future as we look at conditional use, where if we word things correctly on this for the waiver initially, there's a lot more detail and depth that we can get in finding out if the conditional use permit
we can make a
is
condition.
worth granting.
We can make a condition of buffer from the neighbor.
Yes.
Just my thoughts.
And a 4-acre condition.
Yeah. So
Can we delay a decision on this until we see the report from the state?
It is the prerogative of this body to continue the matter. If you want to do that without having to deal with further public notice, you would have to continue it to a date certain. But certainly, continuance is an option, and with a request for additional information is, I think, a fairly typical course of action where a decision maker wants additional information.
I personally would like to see that report from the state. See what they say about the mines.
I can agree with that.
I guess my question to that is just what are you looking for from it that would sway you one way or another? I feel like from my perspective it's like, yes, we always would like prettier things to be put in place, but if we don't own the land, we can't. We have some certain control over certain things, but it's. I guess I don't know what that report is going to tell us with regard to this waiver. When it comes to actually conditional use and being able to put a site plan together and to move forward and build on things, that's where those issues, those potential issues in my mind are where they come into play. For the waiver, speaking just specifically to the item that is before us, it is a waiver because this does not fall within or meet that 3-mile radius criteria. I think moving across the street and, and not expanding is in my head, for at least for the waiver, for the granting of the waiver, the item that we're specifically trying to make, a decision on. I don't have issue with that. Now, I may have issue with a conditional use permit if we see additional detail and additional evidence saying that it shouldn't be done. But at this point, I think we're putting the cart before the horse when we're talking about this specific item that is before us.
Makes sense. Because it would go to what else you could do on the lot. But
I definitely hear narrowing the scope of the discussion to the waiver, and I think that's the right thing to do in terms of the mine report, and but we'd have to get engineers to look at that. I think my concern is if we put conditions on the waiver, we already have a site that's out of code compliance, and whether or not there's been efforts to try to fix that compliance, I don't know. But what assurances do we have that the next site will be within compliance? I think that is relevant to the waiver conversation.
Well, I just assume with a new build, a new use, that there are more thorough inspections as it's being built to ensure that they're in compliance.
you can't use it until it meets the requirements. Yeah. They won't get a CO.
Can you comment on that, Autumn or Allie, in terms of assurances that there will be compliance?
Sure. So with the site plan process, there is a formal document that gets approved. The document has fencing standards. It's 6 feet. It's without barbed wire. That is what is approved. The building gets built. Staff goes out and inspects the building. Someone mentioned a CO. You're correct. We wouldn't issue a CO if it wasn't compliant with the site plan. So we would ensure full compliance with our code through that process.
Any other comments or concerns?
Yes, if I may. It was mentioned that moving across the street doesn't create a new use. I would just ask the board to think about, a condition of the existing business. When does that go away? If a new one's coming on board, can you legally put a time limit on the existing business so they don't overlap? Because then that would be creating an additional use. Just something to think about.
The part where I would okay it is the fact that it's not going to exist there anymore and it's going to move to the new spot.
And as we evaluate a conditional use permit, that's where we can stipulate that, correct? Where when you get your certificate of occupancy for the new site, the old site has to be vacated or it can no longer be used for that purpose. Is that?
The board could condition either of them, but here I think the minimum relief requested, that condition is very appropriate to that standard. So in terms of the direction of this thing, the more strategic approach to ensure compliance would be this waiver would be a replacement of the old facility on the same footprint. Come back with the site plan and demonstrate then compliance with all conditional use permit standards except for spacing. That would be sort of the message of the waiver as I understand the discourse that's occurred thus far.
Can you write that down?
Yeah, that's a whole lot.
Much less sophisticated language.
That sounded really good. But
I don't know. Does everyone?
This, right?
I'm okay with waiver.
We can play back the tape.
Any other comments?
I think the other thing I'd want to address is the email that we received from the neighbor. And I think there's several concerns in here in the email. And so I'm frankly not sure if we can address all these concerns with conditions. But there is I don't know if this is true or not, public access on a private drive. is the Commerce Drive private, or is there a private drive involved? Do we know?
Commerce Drive is not private, but the Miller Drive to access the neighbor's property is a private drive, and we are staying clear of that. Absolutely.
Bring that map up again. Thank you.
Fine with some of these when it's right there now, and it's gonna be
Yeah.
right there. And it's gonna be
It's all
newer.
industrial. Yeah, I don't.
I get they want a setback, but still don't.
What's being used at north of the 7245 Johnson?
It's
School
Miller Drive
ball
is the-
field
is this
is what I'm hearing.
There's Miller there, but
one. So the drive is this one, and I think that's private.
Trustee Lamock, I believe it's Carbon Valley Academy.
Thank you.
And I think your point is well taken, Trustee Mahan, where some of these concerns could be addressed in the next steps of the process.
Yeah,
right?
there are.
Drainage.
It's not the
concerns and
end
that
all
type
be
of
all.
thing.
If we approve this waiver, the waiver is just allows it to happen because there's less than 3 miles between 19 other facilities. That there are already 19 other facilities within 3 miles of this 20-yard difference.
make a go at some conditions.
If I might, Mayor Pro Tem, this is an item that was advertised as a public hearing as a major review. So prior to imposing conditions, it would be a good idea to open a public hearing and see if there's any testimony that might influence that deliberation.
All right. With that information, I'd like to open a public hearing on this matter. If there's anyone here that has anything to say, anything additional. Hearing none and seeing none, then I will close the public hearing. All right, we need to make a decision, guys. You want to grant the waiver with conditions? If so, then we need to lay out the conditions that you want.
So we discussed restricting the size to not exceed the existing lot, right? I guess, are there others that we feel are required for the waiver, or do the others come when we're looking at
The part
conditional
about-
approval?
There was a part about the whole movement of one to the other that sounded really good from him that I don't think I could say again.
No, that's
The opening of one facility would occur upon the closure of the other. I think would be it is a replacement facility,
There.
not to be opened up until the other is closed.
All right, well, I'll make a go at it, and Todd, you can tell me if you feel like I missed anything.
If I might,
Sure.
the board may also consider just making it clear that, and I think I've heard this in the dialogue, that the waiver applies to only one of the conditional use standards, which is the spacing criterion. All other standards would have to be met. So there's no assurance that this actually ultimately gets approved if it can't meet those other standards, if that makes sense.
That's good. I like that.
Sure. I'll figure that out. So Mayor Pro Tem, I would like to move to approve with the conditions, approve resolution 23R50 with the conditions that the the new lot does not exceed the size of the existing lot that it's replacing, that it is a replacement, and so the old lot is shut down when the new one is opened. And I've already forgot what that last one was.
It's only a waiver for the 3 mile.
And it's only a waiver for the
3 mile setback.
yeah, the 3 mile spacing standards. Yes, thank you.
And the town attorney is happy to take direction to draft said resolution for no further action by the board, but for the mayor's signature as an add-on to that motion, if you will, if you
Yes.
accept the add-on.
I do. Thank you.
May I interject? You stated lot. The lot is 15 acres. So can we say site plan or development area?
We understand the storage lot to be not the legal technical term for lot. So it would be 1-for-1 replacement of the square feet of the area is how I interpret the motion. Is
Yes.
that correct?
Yep,
Yes.
exactly
Okay,
right.
let the record reflect that and we'll draft accordingly.
I think that was it.
And just discussion, if that's okay. What's the size of the existing RV storage?
4.05 acres.
I think that's the entire purchase property. Of 7245 Johnson Drive, 4.056. Okay. Okay. I guess the other question then is that, what we might ask is, are these conditions amenable to the applicant? If we want to.
Well, I think we got another issue too, besides that. Are we addressing this letter of concern from the business that's their neighbor right
I
there?
think the conditional use is where that gets addressed.
Yeah, right. The next step.
So
Okay.
that's when we can address the specific details that are brought up, and that will be when the conditional use comes forward with an actual site plan.
Okay. You guys are satisfied with that?
So in terms of keeping no greater than the current acre size, and the replacement facility is not to be opened until the other's closed. Is that acceptable for the business?
Yes, we're okay with that. Thank you.
All right, do we have enough to move in a direction? Do we need specifics laid out here?
We need a second.
I'll second that.
Is that enough? Todd?
We've got a motion and a second. We're just looking for action at that point.
Okay.
Trustee DeValdi,
Yes.
Trustee Lamont,
Yes.
Trustee Padilla,
Yes.
Trustee Mahan,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem March.
No.
Motion passes 4-1.
Okay, next one. Okay, I believe we're ready to move on to item I of our action agenda. Eli? Welcome.
Mayor Pro Tem, Board of Trustees, good evening. The item I've brought forward for your consideration today is right-of-way vacation as it relates to Silverstone Marketplace. This fits in with our strategic plan with community and economic vitality as it relates to development of a commercial area in the town and effective, efficient, and strategic government operations since we brought this forward as quickly as we could. I prepared a slide for you as a visual. There currently exists a 30-foot strip of right-of-way in conflict with the currently approved plat for Silverstone Marketplace. To give you an idea of what's going on, the red is the area of conflict, and the blue is the area of right-of-way that currently exists that would not be replaced. So this is just to get rid of that 30-foot strip and to eliminate any and all future conflicts as it relates to this plat. Any questions?
Me.
And it has come to my attention that there's not a resolution number for this item as well, so please keep that in mind when you're making your motion.
51.
So this would actually, I think, be an ordinance number 1393.
1393.
Vacation, I think, is done by ordinance. And it's also a public hearing on a right-of-way vacation as a major application.
92.
1392.
Public hearing. Thank you.
Okay. All right.
We can do this by resolution. Traditionally, I think these have been done as a public meeting. The code says a major application for right-of-way vacation as a public hearing. Not sure how that was noticed. Wouldn't hurt to open a public hearing anyway.
Okay. All right.
My guess is it's not going to be well attended.
Okay. I was gonna say, yeah.
Those vacations.
All right.
they really attract a lot of attention.
Um,
Resolution 23R51.
All right. So we need to open a public hearing for resolution 23R 51. Is that 51?
51, yes, sir.
Okay. Public hearing is now open for resolution 23R 51. Anyone here? No. Hearing nothing and seeing no one, I will close the public hearing and move on to some direction.
Mayor Pro Tem March, I move to approve resolution 23-R-51 on the right-of-way vacation on the Silverstone Marketplace,
To be drafted by the town attorney
drafted by the town attorney.
for execution by the mayor with no further action
and with
by
no
the board.
further Action by the board.
Second.
I like that.
Trustee Mahan,
Yes.
Trustee Padilla,
Yes.
Trustee Lamont,
Yes.
Trustee Tabelli,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem March.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Budget time.
Okay. All right, what do we go on next here? Got that up.
I think it's agenda item B now, the proposed budget.
Yes, we need to go in now. We're going to do item B.
Yep.
Proposed budget. Curtis?
This is when it
I
gets
think
really
I seen
exciting.
Curtis in here. All right. Funny.
Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem March and trustees. For your consideration this evening is the 2024 town-wide proposed budget, inclusive of all funds. The detail by fund has been printed and is at 2 locations. It's at Town Hall and also Admin Services. It's also available online for detailed viewing. I believe all questions to this point have been addressed. If there are any further, I'm happy to answer.
Anyone have any additional questions or concerns or anything for Curtis? Curtis, once again, great work. The budget is easy to read and easy to understand, so I thank you for that.
Thank you, sir. It's definitely a team effort. Appreciate it.
Curtis, have you got any comment from the public?
There has been no comment to my knowledge.
Okay. With nothing else to say, we can open the budget up for public hearing. Do we have anyone with any concerns, comments? Nothing? Seeing nothing or no one, I will close the public hearing and move to some direction for our 2024 budget.
This is just one of 2 public hearings, So there's no action needed this evening. We will have.
Oh,
a
this is the
second
first. That's
hearing
right.
On December 12th, where it'll be again open to the public, closed, and then at that time we'll have.
And we'll
the
do
rest
action.
from the board.
Okay, I forgot. Yeah, there is 2 hearings. Sorry.
Great work.
Thank you, board. Appreciate it.
Second hearing or second meeting on this is going to be December 12th, right?
Yep.
All right. Okay. Having no further questions, thank you again, Curtis. Okay. Do we have any other items in the action agenda? None? All right. Then we are ready to move on to our final issue here, which is an executive session. Shall we take a 5-minute break and then move into executive session?
Mayor Pro Tem, too, if you'd like, feel free, if you want to do mayor and trustee reports now, and then,
Oh, I forgot about those.
or you can do it after the exec session too. It's up to you.
Let's just do them now. Let's do mayor and trustee reports now. I don't have anything, but does the board? Anyone? Anything?
I do, Your Honor, Mayor Pro Tem. We need to cancel that meeting for November 28th.
Thank you.
Due to the board meeting, due to budgeting questions and other issues.
Okay.
And I would like to ask the staff to prep us for that and get everything ready for that meeting that is on that we need to cover.
Perfect. Mayor Pro Tem and Trustee Lamock, we will have that meeting for the November 28th. There's a couple of items that we can have on there. A short meeting. We'll have some items for consent, and then we also have the town attorney evaluation and brief study session, high-level study session with the court.
Good. The study session will be about court, right? Okay.
Yeah, just a high level. I know the board had asked to do just a conversation before the end. I think it was in fall, so
Yeah.
We have some statistics. I know there's an admin report within the software system. So yeah, just a very high general conversation.
Okay. And this meeting on the 28th is more or less just a work session, right?
Yeah, we'll have a regular meeting that will be very short. I think we'll have 3 or 4 items for the consent agenda, and then the rest will be a study session, the town attorney's evaluation, and then the court brief conversation and the work study session as well.
Okay.
Just for mine, tomorrow's the first meeting I'll go to for the Denver Regional Council of Governments. So I'm representing Frederick primarily on transportation issues. And so just getting up to speed there, but I'll definitely share information with the board as I get presentations and information from those meetings. So those are once a month, I think, second or third Wednesday of every month.
So it's going to be monthly from here.
Mhm.
Cool. Great. Thank you, Wendy. All right. Anyone else? If there is nothing, let's take a 5-minute break and then we'll go into executive session. Oops.
Yeah.
Sorry, bud.